NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring you latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, so it's been almost exactly a week since my last NetsBoy episode, which I did on Christmas Eve. So I hope everyone enjoyed their Christmas and had a wonderful holiday. I know I did, but I digress. But I wasn't going to do an episode this soon because, I'm starting to space these out more. But Sean Marks and the Nets decided that, you know what, they were going to do something before the New Year's. And so they did. But before we discuss all that and obviously discuss the big news about the Nets trading Dorian Finny-Smith and Shake Milton, like I said, it is currently New Year's, or in this case, New Year's Eve when I'm filming this episode, and maybe New Year's or New Year's Day when you see it, who knows. But just like last week where I decided to be a little festive, well, where's the switch thingy? Oh, whoa. This is obnoxious. Wow. Okay, that's better. Okay, this is good. Okay, cool. I like that one. Okay. Yeah. Cool little Happy New Year's fedora. Gotta keep things consistent, right? Gotta celebrate New Year's as well. So let's dive right in. Okay, so first off, let's just briefly just look at this disastrous Orlando Magic game that just happened the other night too, because that was one of the worst games I've ever seen in a while from this Nets team. But it was nice because we saw the return of Cam Thomas, who looked pretty much like vintage Cam Thomas. But at the end of the day, against a Magic team that's literally missing like their four best players, and which they had a lead by almost 20 going into the last like 8 minutes of the game, to lose that game the way the Nets did was just an embarrassment. And look, I understand the Nets losing games is something we're kind of rooting for, sort of, because we want them to tank, but you don't want to lose a game like that. You don't want to lose, it just in an embarrassing fashion, right? It's just such a Nets thing to do. And the reality is, they just didn't seem like they cared anymore. They thought they had the game in the bag. And Jordy Fernandez even said, like, there was no leadership here. There was no adult in the room to say, hey, care, play hard. Just because we're up with like 18 with 8 minutes to go doesn't mean that we can't blow this. We should be coasting. And it seemed like by the time the Nets started trying to figure it out, it was a little too late. But look, that Magic game was just a huge disappointment. And why am I bringing that up? Well, it's because in my mind, I'm like, oh boy, this is what we're just going to be in for the rest of the season, right? Especially after now that they traded Dennis Schroeder, and now most recently trading Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. But then the Nets decided that not only were they going to trade those two players, they decided that maybe they shouldn't suck. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at this trade as a whole here. Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton being traded to the Lakers for Maxwell Lewis, 3 second-round draft picks, and our good friend D'Angelo Russell. I'm sorry. I am confused. I do not understand. Like I said, this move, in my opinion, actually makes the Nets better. And let me explain why. First and foremost, Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton, very good players. Dorian Finney-Smith is a great 3-and-D player, big veteran. Maybe what, Jordy Fernandez was alluding to, saying there was no adult in the room anymore because the Nets did trade away Dennis Schroeder and Finney-Smith, who were the two veterans on the team. So maybe he was almost taking a stab at Sean Marks and management. Maybe, I don't know. But he's a good player, and there's no dismissing that. And Shake Milton, he's a very good scorer, and he was really kind of finding his footing with the Nets. But if you really think about this, and look, I get it. D'Angelo Russell's having a very bad year. One of his worst years he's had in a long time. He's only averaging 12 points a game, 4 assists, only playing 26 minutes a game. He's shooting like 41%. He just has not been good this year. But we know who D'Angelo Russell is as a player. We've seen it as Nets fans. And I don't think it was a coincidence that he played his best basketball when he was one of the featured players on the Nets, when he was with the Nets. Because he is a high usage player. He is a good pick and roll player. When he was with the Lakers, he had to play third fiddle. And even then, with the emergence of Austin Reeves over there, he was almost fourth fiddle. And he had to play behind Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So, of course, he was not going to be featured as much with the offense. And I think him being back with the Nets, I think we're going to see not the vintage D'Angelo Russell where he was with the Nets an all-star, but I think we're going to see a pretty productive D'Angelo Russell. I think we're going to see a guy who's going to go back to that 18 points, 6 assists type of scorer and player that he was last season. I think we're going to see almost a rejuvenation and an opportunity to prove himself again. And so when I look back at this trade, the Nets, I think, are better. Like, when the Nets traded Dennis Schroeder, I'm like, all right. And they got nothing in return. I'm like, all right, they're going for the tank job, right? They're going all in and tanking, right? And then they do this trade, and they pretty much, in my opinion, replace Dennis Schroeder with a player who's arguably just as good, if not maybe better, depending on the circumstances. A different type of player, but like Dennis Schroeder was a player who was giving the Nets 18 and 7 on every given night. And I will not be surprised if D'Angelo Russell gives the Nets 18 and 7 on any given night. So, what are we doing, Sean? What are we doing, Nets? I thought we're trying to suck. I thought we're trying to lose games. Was that just, were we losing too bad for you after we got Dennis Schroeder? Like, look, Sean Marks is going to talk about how they also got, Maxwell Lewis, who's a young forward and player, versatile young player who has not got an opportunity yet. He might get an opportunity of some minutes and getting those second round draft picks again, and how much draft picks matter and all this stuff, and some more cap flexibility because Dorian Finney-Smith had a player's option and Shake Milton was signed for 3 more years. I get that he's going to say those things, but I'm confused because the reason why you traded Dennis Schroeder was not just to get those draft picks, but was to suck and to stop winning. And I really feel like D'Angelo Russell with this team, with Cam Thomas coming back, and honestly, Zaire Williams coming back soon, and the emergence of Noah Clowney, which made Dorian Finney-Smith ultimately expendable, and Cam Johnson, who's still on this team, and Claxton and Daron Sharp getting his footing back. I think the Nets are back to where they were at the beginning of the year when they had Dennis Schroeder. And now they're going to be playing well again-ish, playing okay-ish, and competing for the final play-in spot at this moment, the way this roster is constructed. I firmly believe that because I think D'Angelo Russell is not a scrub. He's not a bad player. He's having a bad year because he's in a bad circumstance and a bad situation because he plays next to LeBron James. I don't care what anyone says. I've always been a LeBron hater, and I'm going to point out that LeBron James is the single fact. The minute that the Lakers were like, we're going to have Bronny on this team, even though we know that Bronny's not on the team anymore. He's in the G League. But from the minute they said they were going to have Bronny on the team on opening night so he could play with his father, if you're D'Angelo Russell, who plays, by the way, the same position as Bronny James, you're like, why is this guy even allowed to be on the court? I'm causing some problems maybe, but I firmly believe this. And you're going to mentally check out like that. And then you're not going to get the same type of minutes and opportunities that you feel like you deserve. Then the Lakers, demote Bronny back to the G League. But by then, you look at the organization and you say to yourself, if you're a point guard like D'Angelo Russell, where do I fit in? If I'm not even going to matter enough that you're going to have a guy who's playing behind me, by the way, take some of the minutes that I feel like I should deserve or maybe someone else should get. Like, I'm sorry. Of all players on the Lakers, by the way, the whole Bronny James thing to me is just mind-boggling. And we're not going to go into that. And I understand he hasn't been on the team since he was demoted after like the first 2 or 3 games. But still, just the fact that they even did that was just, I would lose respect if I was playing with that, with the organization. But I digress. My point is, D'Angelo Russell's not a scrub. D'Angelo Russell's still a very good player. And I don't think this trade makes the Nets worse. I think it makes them better. It makes them what they were before. And Maxwell Lewis, a young player with upside. I love that part of the trade. The second round draft picks, I love them as well. There was some rumors that there was a possible offer from the Grizzlies for Dorian Finney-Smith that involved a first round draft pick, but it was heavily protected. And so Sean Marks is like, I'd rather get the young player and the 3 second round draft picks instead of really no young players and a protected first round draft pick that we may not actually use. So I get that, but I'm very confused by the D'Angelo Russell part. And it would make more sense to me if the Nets were planning on buying out D'Angelo Russell. But they're not. The rumor is they have no intentions of doing that they're going to keep him. Maybe they might try to flip him by the trade deadline. That's why they acquired him as early as they did. So maybe they're going to be like, all right, we're going to bring in D'Angelo, let him run the show a little bit, rebuild his value, say, hey, look, this guy really is this good. And maybe they'll flip him, which I think they will be able to. There is a rule on which you can't trade a player again after, I think it's like 90 days or 60 days after you trade for them. So I'm not sure if that will fall right with where the trade deadline is or not. If it's 90 days, it doesn't. I don't remember the exact rule, to be honest. But perhaps that is the strategy. Or the Nets are just like, hey, let's just see what we got with D'Angelo and see if maybe we can do a sign and trade with him like they did when he was a free agent when they got Kevin Durant, right? The whole part of the reason why they were able to sign Kevin Durant was they did a sign and trade with D'Angelo Russell. So maybe that's something that Sean Marks is looking into again in the future. I'm not sure. It just, D'Angelo Russell to me doesn't fit the long-term plan. And like I said, I think the team's good. It's so funny that at this point, NetsBoy is upset that the Nets got better. Like I really do. Like the Nets got better, and I like D'Angelo Russell, and I think the backcourt of him and Cam Thomas, now that he's back, is going to be a great 1-2 punch, just like it was when it was Dennis Schroeder and Cam Thomas. So I don't know, but that's all I really want to say. I think the Nets are better. They make no sense. I thought they were trying to lose, and now I feel like they're a better team again. Going back in that mediocre spot, in that mediocrity, that level. But maybe there's a move really locked up soon that's going to trade Cam Johnson, because there's a lot of speculation. The rumor is the Nets want 2 first-round draft picks or multiple first-round draft picks for him. I said that in my last NetsBoy episode that I wouldn't trade him for anything other than 2 first-round draft picks. And a lot of people think that's steep, but I think if you're a championship caliber team who feels like you're a strong wing player away who can shoot over 45% from 3 and be a good two-way player, if you think that you're a piece like that away, would you not offer 2, maybe 2 lottery protected first-round picks? I don't know. I would. So maybe if the Nets trade Cam Johnson over the next couple weeks, this move might make a little bit more sense, because then the Nets would then become worse again. And even though I do think D'Angelo Russell's a good player, I don't think he's going to be able to overcompensate for the loss of Cam Johnson. So then it'll make some more sense. But I really don't know. The reality is, we know the Nets and Sean Marks, they're not done yet. They're not going to be done yet. There's still probably more moves to be made. Remember, Boyan Bogdanovic is supposed to come back at some point. All the speculation is that the Nets are going to trade him. They're going to try to showcase him. They're going to show that he's healthy. Then they'll probably trade him. Ben the Useless Simmons, I mean, he's been Ben the Useless Simmons. I don't know what to say about this guy. One moment he looks good. The next moment he's just turning the ball over. I hate him. I've said it before. I don't think he should be on this team much longer. I think the Nets should buy him out if they can't trade him. The word is the Nets don't plan on doing that either, because Ben Simmons may not agree to a buyout. But I don't think the Nets are going to be able to trade him. And I don't know. The only good thing that I look at really about this team is that there's more flexibility for the future yet again by getting out of the contract to Shake Milton and not worrying about the players option Dorian Finney-Smith, because D'Angelo Russell is on an expiring contract. So I kind of like that. But I don't know. I'm just 2025 is just going to be a wait and see type of year and see what the hell's going to happen because I don't know. I don't know. But there we go. I'll wrap up this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, wait. Before I do that, let me do my NetsBoy salutes. We'll start off with Shake Milton. You were only on the team for like 2 months. You were on the team in the trade with the Mikal Bridges trade, but you had some moments. You played hard. You proved that you're a solid player. So thank you. NetsBoy salute to Shake Milton. And then Dorian Finny-Smith. I mean, this is a guy who was the veteran voice. He was a hard player, hard in the grit and grind. The definition of grit and grind, tough nose, made some big shots here and there, always willing for the defensive challenge. Just a really good player. Played for the Nets for a little over a season and a half. Remember, he was in the Kyrie Irving trade when they got Dinwiddie back. And just good luck to you. Good luck to you, Dorian. And, and hope the best with the Lakers. So let's boy salute to those two players, and we'll see what happens. So there you have it. I'll wrap up this episode. Let me know what you guys think. What's your impressions of this team now that they got D'Angelo Russell? Do you agree with me that they're back to being mediocre instead of bad? And that's not necessarily what I thought the game plan was. And, if you like the move overall and what moves you think the Nets might make, because I'm telling you, they're going to at least make at least one more major trade sooner rather than later, I think. Whether it's going to be Cam Johnson or maybe eventually Bojan Bogdanovic when he comes back, there's more moves to be made. But let me know what you guys think about it and everything. And until then, everyone, have a very wonderful and safe New Year's. And this is NetsBoy turning off his obnoxious hat and signing off.